Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. Our meeting is going to be recorded. I want to introduce myself and my colleagues. I'm Renata Kalniūnienė, Marketing Project Manager at Softneta. This training is going to be hosted by Marius Šadauskas, System Integrator at Softneta. And also we will have two more colleagues, Edvinas Kaštaljanovas, DevOps Engineer at Softneta, and our CEO, Vytautas Baublys. So I want to ask you to stay muted during all the training. And if you have any questions, write them in the chat section. I'm going to collect your questions, and when Marius will be finished with presentation, in the end of the training, I'm going to read all your questions, and my colleagues is going to answer them. Also, please do not share camera with all the participants for the quality issues, and also please stay muted. So Marius, you could start presentation.
Okay, hello everyone. Just want to make sure you can hear me good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Very good. So let's start our presentation. And so for today, we will discuss about MedDream and the Docker containers. In this webinar, we will discuss about the Dockers, what are the Dockers, what are the advantages of the Dockers, of using Dockers for MedDream. Also, we will present you what MedDream products, MedDream Viewer Dockers containers we have on Docker Hub. Also, we will explain, let's say, most used Docker commands which you will need if you will try to deploy the MedDream yourself and try to test it. So we will discuss this during the webinar. Also, we will discuss about the MedDream DICOM Viewer configuration, how to configure it to access your PACS or the file system, so you would be able to see the images from your PACS, and also licensing questions. And at the end of the webinar, I will try to deploy and show you how we will deploy the MedDream DICOM Viewer plus DCM4CHEE PACS server. So the Docker is a platform which is built based on the containers. So they are small and lightweight execution environments that make shared use of operating system kernel, but in the same time it makes isolations between them. So in principle it is similar to virtual machines. In next slide I will show you the diagram. And also the Docker was an open source project. It was launched in 2013. And it was quite success project, I would say. It is constantly growing, and for the latest, let's say, statistics I have found on the internet, on the Docker Hub blog. So it was for 2020 years, so 2 years ago, there was more than 7 million repositories, almost 3 million desktop installations, and 11 billion pull requests. If we would talk about the advantages of the Docker, so I have made these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So what is the most important, I would say, so that you do not need to install a separate guest operating system, some, let's say, additional software when you would be doing this. If you would have, for example, a VMware virtual machine or virtual box with Linux, so you would need to install it. You would need to add some, let's say, tools, some libraries, and so on. And it takes time, you know, and it takes much longer time than using a Dockers. With Dockers, all the necessary software, tools, and libraries are already here. in the Docker container. So when you deploy it, everything will be installed, what is needed. Also, usually Docker containers are built in minutes. I would say the most time it takes is to download the image from through the network and to extract it. So it is the, let's say, most longer period of time, and the build itself, deployment, it takes just a few minutes. And also you can have as many Docker containers running on your, for example, on your computer, on your server, or on virtual machine, as in my case I will show you. So there is no limits. For example, for testing MedDream plus DCM4CHEE, you would install basically 4 or 5 different containers on the same virtual machine, and it would work without problems. Also, as mentioned, you can install MedDream Viewer container with pre-configured settings. So about this configuration and settings and pre-configured settings, I will discuss later, and I will show you when we will be deploying the Docker container. So here is the let's say comparison of the Docker and virtual machine. So as you can see, they are similar in the way that the Docker and virtual machines also have different application libraries and so on, and they are separated. However, for each virtual machine, you would need a guest operating system. So for this, if we would check on this table, comparing Dockers and virtual machines, so for operating system, you would need for virtual machine its own operating system. Virtual machine would take some minutes, in starting, while Dockers start just in seconds. For the performance, as Dockers are high performance and uses less resources, as I mentioned, that you can have multiple Docker containers running on the same computer, same server. For virtual machines, you would need to have much more RAM, or CPU, or a disk space. So this increase, the usage of the resources. And for storage, also Docker's images are usually quite small. And for virtual machine, usually you would need to create a bigger, let's say, disk, because you don't want to get out of the space. And later, sometimes shrinking the size of virtual machine can be tricky. Expanding it, it's not so difficult, but shrinking, if you would need it, it would could be a little challenging. And if we would talk about use cases, so Docker is used for a faster development, for the testing, and for the production. So, for example, I myself, when I need to test something, I usually use Docker, because it is much easier. You can install any specific version of MedDream just in seconds, and you can test. You can configure it. So it is much better option for less, let's say, time-consuming job. And of course, virtual machines are used also in the production, and maybe more in the data centers, where for maximized resource utilization. Now we can go to talk about the MedDream on the Docker Hub. So in the next slide, I will show you, we have this link. So Renata maybe can post in the chat this link. So this is our MedDream Docker containers, and this is let me just show you here. So we have this Docker Hub page where we have all our Docker containers listed here. Our main Docker container, of course, is the MedDream DICOM Viewer container, and other ones we have MedDream plus or Tank PACS server, MedDream plus DCM4CHEE, a token service which is used for a secure integration using HIS, also example of viewer integration using study or token integration, MedDream with Conquest PACS server, and DICOM study samples, which you can download and use it for a testing purpose if you want to see, how some certain studies would look like in MedDream. And each container, let's say if we would go here for MedDream plus or tank, so it has a detailed description what this container consists of, what are the Docker commands needed to install MedDream Viewer plus or tank PACS server, how to send sample studies to the or tank or to any other PACS, how to log in, how to integrate with HIS using a study parameter as URL, or using secure integration, using token service. So all this information is available in Docker Hub. Also, in part of the configuration is available in our installation manual, in our integration manual, which you can find in our website. Let me just come back to the slides. So our top most three popular containers are, of course, DICOM Viewer container, DICOM Viewer plus or tank PACS server, and the MedDream token service, which, as I mentioned, it is used for the secure integration using HIS or for example some kind of your application, your system. And as I showed you, each Docker container has detailed description what that container contains. Also, each Docker container has all the Docker commands, which is basically needed to you to run it. So you will copy paste them to your environment where you will have Docker installed, and you will have MedDream DICOM Viewer running just in a few. Also regarding the Dockers and all other installations, custom installations, so Softneta also can offer, and we have experience. We have clients who needs some, let's say, custom Docker container with some custom software, custom Windows packages. So if you need, according to your needs or to your client needs, it is possible to create a custom Docker container and to provide it in our private hub. Also, it is possible to create custom Windows installation packages, also to build custom RPM or Debian installation packages if such things are needed in your case. Yes, if we would talk about MedDream Viewer itself, most people are, let's say, if you already have a PACS server running in your environment and you just want to download MedDream, install MedDream Docker and connect it to your PACS system, so you would be able to access the studies. So basically there would be a two-step approach. First one is to create an application properties file and or use it and add the connection details to your PACS server, and run the Docker command, which will download. And I will explain this command, which you can see here. I will explain it in next slide what all these things means, so we can go step by step to know how this Docker command works. If you do not have a PACS, or for example your PACS is one of those like DCM4CHEE or Tank, Clear Canvas, Conquest, or PACS one, so we have dedicated plugins for them. So it is much easier, let's say, to configure these PACSes and connect them to MedDream Viewer. However, if your PACS server is on a different manufacturer, so it is also possible to connect it to MedDream because we have a direct communication, let's say, connection using a file system or database. Also, we support WADO and QUIDO interfaces, and I would say 99% of the PACS manufacturers in the world uses the DICOM query protocol. So our MedDream Viewer can be configured using these technologies also. So if your PACS is not in the list, let's say, so it's not problem. Just let us know if you will have any difficulties to configure it. Our support and integration teams are ready to help you. Also, to mention that it is possible to test MedDream or even to use in production without using PACS. So it is possible for MedDream to access the studies and show them using the file system. So basically, you would have a root folder where you would put all your studies, and you would pass the URL parameter, or the using token integration, you would pass the path, which specific study, which specific folder or subfolder you would like to view, and it will open. So MedDream can also work with the file system. And of course, now the clouds are the trending one. So we are friendly with Google Cloud, Cloud Healthcare, and other services. So just in case you are planning to use this, also let us know, and we will be happy to help you configuring it and test it. Also, maybe not a lot of you know, but MedDream also has the veterinary version for the viewer. So if you would like to test it for veterinary version, basically you can use the same MedDream version. Just at the end, you need to put -vet tag. So the veterinary version will be downloaded and installed. And when you will request or ask for the trial license, please do not forget that you need to tell that you plan to test for the veterinary version, because human and vet versions are different, so the license is different. So just let us know, and the sales team will send you the correct license to you. And now let's discuss about, before we try to build the Docker, let's discuss about the commands, the Docker commands, because if you will deploy it, you will eventually will need it. So let's check out to this command, and now we have version 7.90. So this is the older version. And this is just a sample Docker command for running MedDream, for installing MedDream DICOM Viewer. So what this Docker run means, it creates a writable container and starts the specified command with the attribute -restart always. It will automatically restart the container if it would crash, or after rebooting the system. -name, it will create a name of the container MedDream. We would add this -itd to run container in the background. Also, what is important is -p. So with -p, what we are doing doing port forward. So on your host environment, on your server, we say that if we will on host server, we will connect to port number 80. So it will go to container port 8080. By default, the MedDream port would be like this. So on your machine, on your server, on your computer, you would be able to to access HTTP localhost or 127.0.0.1, and you would be able to access the MedDream Viewer, which actually runs inside the container on port 8080. So that's why you will see that when we will install the DCM4CHEE, we will open much more ports for that. Also, what is important, excuse me, what is important is -v parameter. With -v, we can mount the application properties file, so it will be copied from the host to the Docker container. It is, let's say, it's not a mandatory thing to do, but it's quite good, you know, because then later, if you will need to edit something, you simply do not need to log into the Docker container inside. You just do the changes on your host environment and restart the Docker, and it will apply the changes. The same scenario would be you can mount the folder where your file system DICOM files will be stored. You can mount the system JSON file or license folder and so on. And of course, the last part will download the DICOM Viewer for the specific version. As today we will be testing 7.9.0 version. And if we would talk about the commands after installing the Docker containers, of course, the command is to start, stop, and restart. The free commands here are the most common you will use. You can also might need this command to see what Docker containers you have installed. So with Docker ps-a, you can see all the Docker containers which are installed. Either they are running or they are stopped, but you will see all the list. You might need to remove a certain container. For example, you decided to remove it and to change it or to delete it from your system because it's older version. So to do this, you will use the docker remove and docker name command. Docker inspect MedDream will return a low-level information on Docker objects. So this is basically could be used if you are debugging. If, for example, the Docker container somehow doesn't start, you know, or there is some issues, so you can use this command for the debugging. And in some cases, you might need to enter the Docker container, MedDream or whichever other container. So this is also quite used command, which will go inside the certain container with sh functionality. So you will be able to browse the files which are inside the container and to edit them and do some other manipulations. Other important thing is MedDream configuration and the licensing. So as discussed today, I have mentioned it a few times about this application properties. So basically, this would be, I would say, the most important file where you will do the changes. Of course, there is other files and other places where you would configure some settings, but in this file, you would configure the, let's say, MedDream port on which it is running. You would configure what is the authentication methods. Does it has in-memory user, or does it has only authentication by study integration, patient ID, or something? Also, if you would, let's say, have your own MedDream PACS running on your server and you would like to access it with MedDream, so you would need to configure it. So this is the configuration example, how you can configure it. So you would need to enter your PACS ID. In this case, for example, ORTANK, you would paste the ORTANK server IP address, and you would paste the username and password. And in this sample, you would configure MedDream Viewer to access your tank server and to show the images. But if you choose to install MedDream DICOM Viewer, for example, with DCM4CHEE or tank PACS server, it is possible to install it with all these required settings. So you would need, to do anything here. You would need to enter this or this. Everything would be added automatically and applied automatically. So by running just a few commands, you would be able to set up a MedDream and the PACS server just in few minutes. Also, you would be able to import some sample studies, and see and test the MedDream itself. Another one of the last things actually on this theoretical part, let's say, is the licensing thing. So in order to get a more convenient, better testing, we would recommend to contact our sales team for the trial, to ask for the trial license. And when you will have it, you can register it and use it for the testing purposes. Because out of the box, if you would install a container, it would have only one concurrent connection, and then it would pop up this window that this is the demo version, every few minutes, and you would need to wait 10 seconds to close it. So for the initial thing, when you set up it, it's okay. But later, if you want, to test it more deeply, to test the integration and so on, so we would recommend to contact our sales at info@softneta.com and ask for the trial license. And just to know that, for example, if you will plan to use, let's say, a few instances of MedDream on your computer, on the server, so please request a few trial licenses, because each serial number and each MedDream license file should be unique per instance. So you cannot use the same license key for 2, 3, or 4 instances of MedDream. Also, about the mounting the license folder, this part is also not mandatory, but it is useful when you are testing. If you would accidentally, for example, delete a container and you would recreate it, so the license folder would be in your host environment, and the license file will stay here, will remain here, and you wouldn't need, to enter the license key once again when you would install the Docker container again. So in order to mount the license folder, what you would need to do is first to create on the host environment a folder where you will store this license. So for example, home MedDream license. You need to give this folder need to be writable by everyone, because when the Docker container will start, it will create a license file and will put it here. So it needs to be writable at least for the first run while it will be created. And then you would mount with -v, which I told you before. So you would mount the license folder, and in the MedDream application properties, you would have this. You would need to have this line to set where is the file located. So now, as we checked all the let's say theoretical part, I would like to show you how we can install and run MedDream DICOM Viewer. We will try to deploy it MedDream plus DCM4CHEE. So just one moment here. So we will try to deploy this Docker container. So what we will do, we will open it and we will run all the commands which are here. Let me just open my virtual machine. I have it already open. I have already logged in. So if we would check, now on localhost, we don't have anything running. And Docker ps-a, we have also no containers. So what we will do now is we will try to create a MedDream DICOM Viewer plus DCM4CHEE PACS server. So for the first part, what we will need to do is to create a network. So we copy this command, paste it here, and network will be created. Next things is the DCM4CHEE containers. So DCM4CHEE consists of archive container, of Postgre database, and LDAP server. So what we will do, just I will copy them one by one and install them. I have downloaded the images of these containers before the meeting, so that's why it's creating so fast. So I didn't know what the internet speed will be during this webinar, so that's why I already have these images downloaded. So we wouldn't need to wait, and they are created immediately just after a few seconds. And as you can see, for example, for DCM4CHEE archive, we are port forwarding much more ports than in MedDream Viewer. As in MedDream, we will only forward this port, and DCM4CHEE needs to forward much more ports. I lost my mouse. Where it is? Oh, it's disconnected. Good. And let's copy this. Okay, and let's copy the last command. This command will install MedDream DICOM Viewer. As you can see, we will install on the same network which we have created here. So all the Dockers will be on the same network. It is important to have it on the same network, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to access them. It will create a container called MedDream. It will port forward from 80 to 8080. It will also mount some folder where all the studies will be stored, and it will mount to storage folder inside the Docker container. Also, if you remember, I mentioned to you that we have this pre-configured settings. So in this case, I will use it. So this is the parameter minus e integration equal study. I'm using this parameter, so I will not need to create a application properties file. For example, here I have some example of application properties. Yes, so I would need to create them by myself, you know, add the title, username, password, and so on. But I will not use that. I will just use these pre-configured settings to set up my MedDream, and it will install latest version 7.0.1, and will add some rights for the specific folder which is required just for the DCM4CHEE. For example, for ORTank, it would be a little different, let's say, Docker run commands, but the principle would be the same. So I will put this one, and we can see that we have already few Dockers running, and our MedDream Docker is starting. So just let's wait a few minutes, and it should start if everything went well. Yes. So as you can see, we have MedDream already running. It's Docker is already running. You see, it's started 35 seconds ago. So basically, started in 35 seconds. But this virtual machine is on the very slow disk, and it has like 2 CPU and GB of RAM. So this is not fast virtual machine. On fast environments, it's even more faster, you know. So using this command, we have created MedDream DICOM Viewer, which is connected to DCM4CHEE PACS server. And if we scroll down, we can see that we can log in using username and password demo. So we will do this. And as you can see, we are in, but we are getting this message that this is a demo version of MedDream. If you would like to get a trial, please contact us, and so on. So when you will request for the trial version, what you will need to do is to click register, enter the serial number, click here that you are agreeing with EULA, take your time to read everything carefully if you haven't read. Close it and please click register, and your trial license will be registered, and you will no longer be getting this pop-up window. For now, I do not click registration. So this is the MedDream, but as you can see, we have no studies. If we click any, we have no studies. So for this, we can see that MedDream is running, but we cannot see how it shows the images and so on. So for this, what we can do is to send some sample DICOM studies to DCM4CHEE. So in order to do this, I just copy this command, and this at the end, this dot is important. So please copy all command. This dot is not an accident, it's on purpose here. So we will paste here this command. So what it will do, it will send the DICOM files to this specific title, in this case DCM4CHEE at archived. So this is the host name of the container, and this is port number for DCM4CHEE title. So as you can see, the studies are being sent, and if we would click search again, we would see that the studies are becoming available. It has, I think, 4 or 5 sample studies, so we can try to open while it's loading. As you can see, without the license key, we are getting this pop-up window. So as I mentioned it, when you will register, you will not get this, and you can start checking MedDream, you know, and checking and testing and so on. And we can try to open a few more studies. So for example, we can put 2x4. As you can see, we can add multiple modalities and multiple different kind of studies. We can have video on the same screen. We can have CT, DX, or whatever modalities you might have. So you can send your own studies to the MedDream PACS, to the DCM4CHEE in this case, and it would show the studies here. Also, even out of the box, we have the 3D version. So if we would go here to MPR and /MIS, so even you can test it for the 3D, how our 3D model is working. As I said, this machine is slow on SATA disks, so that's why it takes a little longer. In SSD disk, it's much faster. So as you can see, everything is working even in demo version. So you can try it, you can manipulate it, you can do the measurements and all kind of things you want to test on the MedDream. So, whoops, sorry. So to sum up, basically we have just installed MedDream plus DCM4CHEE. it took us maybe 5 minutes. Of course, it could take a little longer because you would need to download all the images. If I remember correctly, MedDream container is about 500 megabytes. DCM4CHEE archive maybe about 1 gigabyte or something. So it depends on the speed, or on the internet, how long it would take you to download it. But it is quite easy and quite fast to deploy MedDream on your environment. So basically, what you need to do to sum up this introduction. So you choose a desired Docker container which you would like to test. Simply copy and paste the Docker commands from the description on the Docker Hub, connect it to your PACS server, or use the pre-configured settings if you don't have PACS, or if you would like to test them with some PACS. Also contact our sales for the trial version, and if you will have any questions regarding installations, if you would have some trouble or you would need some help regarding the integration, so please contact us at support or integrations@softneta.com. So Renata, the word is yours.
So our first question is, any plans to have MedDream PACS Premium as a container?
I think maybe Vytautas can answer this because I think yes, but not 100% sure.
Yes, so we had the idea to make PACS Premium available, but this is we still consider about upgrade process because upgrade process would be not so simple on container, and by discussion with most of our customers, we decided still PACS Premium live on the non-Docker environment.
Okay, so second question would be, full version can be configured in Spanish language.
Currently, I think we have Lithuanian, English, and I need to check in which languages we have. But for Spanish, I don't remember.
Yes, but even if we not have on Spanish, it could be translated, and we could add later on the support of it. I know what Spanish language on the way because just started translation, so I believe a Spanish later on will come. Also, French language is available. Germany is also on. You just need to request our team to assist you with the files.
Okay, thank you. And another question, just about the license. Is it related to the host machine? If I destroy the MedDream container, delete the image, re-download a new image and restart the container, do the license continue to work?
Yes.
So the license will continue to work, but one thing which you need to know on Dockers, because Docker containers is highly virtualized, so it's work only on online. So it means the Docker container must be connected to internet and ensure the connectivity with our licensing services to constantly follow the license validity. So it's not allowed to reuse the same license on different containers. And this is highly needed to be on the internet. So it means even it's not located to your hardware, it's mostly located to our licensing services, and we're checking how many Docker containers is run with the same activation code. So we immediately see if a user tried to run more than one installation of the same Docker.
Okay, another question. There is a web interface to connect PACS or modality for query retrieve.
At this point, it's only in file system. You need to specify. Correct, Marius, please? The credentials of a connected PACS system. It's no web interface at this point, I believe.
Yes. You need to configure in application properties, or if you have, it's mentioned other. But in any case, yes, in any case, you would need to configure in the file. But we have a installation manual which describes it. We have the sample of the configurations with, for example, with each PACS, with the DICOM query, with Guido examples. Also, you can contact us anytime, so we will help you to make a connection if you will face some problems.
Yes, and maybe, Marius, we need to comment because it's very related to that question about updates of Docker containers. That when you update Docker container, it's very important to save the configuration files, just to not lose them, because
yes, you are correct. So that's why it is quite good, to use this -v mounting points, So with -v, for example, if you mount application properties file, you can even mount a system JSON file, global JSON file, which are also is a configuration file for the MedDream, and you will have let's say a copy in your host environment. And if you would, for example, remove a container completely from your environment, you would still have in your folder that application properties file. And when you will recreate a new container, for example, with newer version, you can use the same application properties, and most probably it will work. Of course, unless it would be, two major release difference. So some parameters, properties might be already changed, but if it's a minor change, so most probably it will work. So so for backing up the configuration file and the license file, so the best is to mount them. So you would have them in Docker and in your host environment. And also you can copy paste them somewhere else even.
And also, as you, Marius, explained it before, it's also very important if you highly use our Dockers and you like to more deep have integration, more deep automated processes. So you also need to communicate with our team, maybe to create dedicated Dockers with dedicated workflows. So this also would be a solution for these very, very intensive integration cases.
Okay, I can go to next question, yes? The software has work list for the specialist?
MedDream Viewer?
Yeah, the MedDream Viewer itself don't have work list. Is depend on your selected PACS system. So some PACS systems have work list, some not. It's depend on the concrete setup.
Okay, and next one is quite off topic. Any plan to be able to import DICOM examination directly from web UI of MedDream Viewer?
This is still on discussions, I believe, but we already, of course, I really recommend for you to come back on my presentation in 3 weeks where I will present news about the MedDream, but today I have possibility also to present you one feature, and this feature is really reflect the question. So I will try to share my screen. So I now just open any type of data, so like some radiology. And for example, what we did in the newest version, which is already available, you can do some measurements or even zooming, rotation, any actions, changing of windowing, and then make a secondary capture. Secondary capture do exactly what here was asked. It creates the new image, stores back to the PACS system, and you have all same settings on that image. So I would say this already done for existing data, but not to import like non-DICOM data and then convert to DICOM. For existing data, you could save now most of the cases for the secondary capture. This is already available. So Renata, you can return your share.
Can I run different Dockers with MedDream in the same computer or VM using different licenses?
Correct, you can do that. Just you need to use different ports. Yes, Marius, I believe.
Yes, and of course different licenses for each Docker container of the MedDream, because as presented, basically the Docker is like a virtual machine. So each Docker is like a separate virtual machine. So you can have different MedDream versions or different instances running. Just for each instance, you would need a unique license.
Is there a way to print directly in DICOM printers from the MedDream Viewer UI?
Yes, this is actually also will be announced on my new release data. So we actually finalized the new service for the DICOM printers. It will be not web application, but it will be run it from the MedDream application. So you need to install it on your computer, the DICOM printer application, which will be connected to the MedDream installation, and you have possibility to print. And this will be already covered by the MedDream license, so you don't need additionally pay for that. So this will be announced in 3 weeks, and yes, you will have possibility to connect with our support team and to work. Just it will be not supported for all PACS system. It will be several systems supported. So you need to communicate with your setup to know is your system will be covered.
Okay, another one. Is there any possibility to get a message channel that allows a specialty? Not
Not
If it's
quite.
related to a work list or HL7 messages, I'm not sure. So it's not related to MedDream Viewer. It's also related to some specific packs or the other solutions which works with these HL7 order messages for creating a work list, for example. But MedDream Viewer itself does not have this. It's just display the images from the packs.
Yeah, and
Okay,
if it's more discussion on the live session, to have chat option to discuss during the live session, yes, at this point, this functionality is not on the roadmap to add the chat possibility in the MedDream. I believe it's coming, but not this year.
filling the question with to give back the studies to the tech specialist due to bad quality reasons. We answered, yeah, to all this question.
Yeah, so the doctor could use annotations for that and annotate what is wrong in the image, store the image, and it will return back. And it's depend on the integration level. So if the integration would be done correctly, so it could inform the informational system. But yes, this is no way to do it by standard. For that, you need to use our integration team and assist to make a quality checkups. This is not so easy task, and yes, it's more easy probably to use other communication models like to connect through another chatting options when use MedDream. And
Okay.
report integration available like VisiVig. Never saw this VisiVig, so it's hard to comment about this. But yes, now the MedDream contains also some possibilities to pass some measurements to informational system and reporting systems. So this field of report integration, voice recognition integration is also on our active development.
Okay, and another one. Is it possible to assign user profiles with different permissions? Example, for the special profile include report module.
Yeah, this is possible already 2 versions ago. So we implemented personalized hanging protocols, and this personalized hanging protocols could limit the user functions like even measurements, report, and some accessibility to the functions. Only one thing which is not limit, so access to the data. So if you would like to limit the user access to the data, so this is would need more deep integration and again custom works from our specialists.
Okay, this was the last question. I don't see more questions in the chat section.
So I believe, yeah, if it's last question, so I believe we really like to thank for all participants, especially for Marius, which is really hard prepared this presentation. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to write your comments. I know what Renata will pass you our record. So it's also became available on our YouTube channel. I really recommend everyone to subscribe to it and see it all live news. Also, please check our news about the new release. In 3 weeks, we will have new webinar for the functionality dedicated, which I will present all the news about the MedDream. So I believe this will be also very interesting. And again, we will meet in next quarter because these technical trainings will be performed this year every quarter. So please, if you have ideas what is very interesting for you, send us all proposals about the topics, and we will try to select the most hot topic to give overview. So again, many thanks for Marius for such good preparation for the presentation and all participants.
Yeah, I would like to add to Vytautas that we ask in the registration form about the topics which are the most interesting for our registrants. So we are going to look through them, and of course, preparing for the next trainings, we would pick topics from these which are filled in the registration forms. And also, I want to thank you for participating. And I think maybe next week we will have a recording, and I am going to send you the link to the registration email. And thank you, and have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.